Welcome to the World Rally Championship. We're in Ireland for the very first time. There will be some of the most stunning scenery seen in the calendar, and there should be action to match, as this is a unique event.
There's so many things in the road, you can't write it all down. Like there's bumps and mud and cuts and don't cut and everything, so it's not easy to follow the correct line or get the information right.
Here it's narrow and very sleepy. Once you make a mistake, you're normally out of the rally, so I think you need to be very sensible here.
When it's raining, the side of the road are really soft, and so when a car goes in, it's through a lot of mud on the road, and then it's really difficult.
It's like a gravel stage, but there's tarmac on it. If you want to get a good result, you really have to trust your tires and basically hope for the best that you stay in the road.
But the pressure is building, and the big attraction this weekend is the continuation of the battle for the driver's title between reigning champion Sebastian Loeb and this year's championship leader Marcus Grönholm. Both went off and failed to score in the last round in Japan, leaving the title race wide open. Grönholm has a lead of 4 points, but he'll need to beat Loeb by 7 if he's to win his third driver's title in Ireland. But this is on tarmac, and the Ford man knows that beating the Frenchman on his favourite surface is going to be a tall order. And after Japan, how many risks is he prepared to take?
I was not in a hurry there. It was just a mistake which can happen. So I was not, flat out attacking like crazy. It just happened, and that's the problem in the rally. It can happen, but for sure I will start and look and how the grip is, and so no big risks.
For Loeb, the equation is simple. He needs to win both the last two events to ensure he retains the title. But after that wrong pace note from his co-driver in Japan, does he have the confidence to push really hard?
To start the rally, we take some risk because it's so tricky that everything can happen. But for sure we will have to push hard because I need to be in front of Marcus. So for sure it will not be easy to reach the end of the rally.
So with 2 events to go, Grönholm leads Loeb by 4 points, but a dominant Citroën performance on the Irish tarmac could see this race turned on its head. Ford have all but sewn up the Manufacturers' Championship, and just 3 points here in Ireland will earn them their second title in as many years. But the big news in the service area is the retirement of Citroën Sports Director Guy Brekeland. The Frenchman has been in rallying most of his life and joined Citroën in 1989, but the team didn't enter the WRC properly until 2003. The impact was instant, winning the manufacturers' title in their first full season, and it didn't stop there, as they won 2 more manufacturers and 3 drivers' titles. But now it's time to move on for the all-conquering Frenchman.
I don't want to speak about this for the moment. It's something very much more important. It's the Ireland Rally and the GB Rally in 2 weeks, and I prefer to speak about the Ireland Rally if you want.
He'll be missed by those at Citroën, but especially by Sebastian Loeb, who's benefited from Brekeland's guidance.
He had a big influence on my career. We started in World Championship together with Citroën, and he gave me my first opportunity to drive an official car in World Rally. So since that, it was a nice story.
The man looking to continue the story is Olivier Canel, who's also spent most of his life involved in motorsport. For Brekeland, this will be his first and last Irish rally. The event is based in Sligo in the Republic, but this rally will also see stages run in Northern Ireland, as the 2 countries have come together to support the event. There are 20 stages, totalling 336 kilometres for the crews to negotiate. But the rally began in the city of Belfast with a super special in the grounds of the Stormont Parliament buildings, home to the Northern Ireland Assembly. Her Royal Highness Princess Anne representing the British royal family amongst the dignitaries meeting the drivers on this historic occasion. A sellout crowd of over 10,000 were there to see it, and fittingly on this cross-border event, the opening run saw the Republic of Ireland's Gareth McHale and Northern Ireland's Chris Meek go head-to-head on the 1.8 kilometre stage. And it was a great start for former FIA Juniors regular Meek. He was over 5 seconds quicker than Ford driver McHale, setting a time of 1 minute 31.8 seconds. With With many privateers joining the WRC Elite, there are over 30 World Rally cars entered this weekend. And it was one of those privateers, Chris Meek, who was still fastest as we reached the highlight of the evening. And that was the duel between Marcus Gronholm and Sebastian Loeb, the World Championship title rivals. As expected, with every second counting this weekend, it's a typically committed start from both men. Marcus clipping the cones, but as they approach the finish, I think the Finn may just have the edge over the bridge just before the finish line. And yes, it's a fantastic start for the championship leader. He's 9/10 of a second quicker than Seb, and both drivers jump ahead of Meek. Loeb's second fastest then, but the fans around Stormont will be delighted to see Northern Ireland's Meek up there in third in his privately entered Subaru, ahead of the likes of Chris Atkinson, Petter Solberg and Mikko Hirvonen. It's first blood to Gronholm, but the stages are still to come. The World Rally Championship is witnessing its closest battle in years, and the pressure has been taking its toll. But it's not just the drivers that are affected, the whole team feel it.
I have a feeling that they feel more pressure than me. Okay, they can't do anything. They are standing here in the service park and they are just waiting for the times and hoping that we can do well. So I think they have more pressure than what I have.
When I arrived this morning, everybody was very excited. Why are you so late? And cool, no problem. Yeah, everybody is under pressure.
They probably wanted even more than Marcus, to be honest. I mean, there's a great desire to win within the team to try and pull it off for him.
But everyone has their own fears and worries, whatever their roles.
I hope when I look the tracking to not see number 1 and number 2 blue cycle. It means the car will be stopped in the stage. I cross my fingers for this, absolutely.
I'm in charge of building both of Marcus and Mikko's car. Everybody turns to me when something's wrong, but recently we got good reliability and everything goes well.
And everyone has their own ways of dealing with the pressure.
Everybody has a checklist to do more than usually, absolutely, because one small mistake, as I said beforehand, can do a very big problem and a bad result.
It's very important to do the same and not to put more pressure.
But how do the drivers themselves feel?
That's a secret, no fiction.
Do you feel the pressure?
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Try to think to something else and try to forget about that and to say, okay, it's only a sport.
I don't have pressure now for the moment, and of course it will come during the rally when we start and we put the helmets on, but for the moment it's quite relaxed now.
The most problem, I think, is the Ireland Rally is very, very, very specific and very, very, very difficult.
After a dramatic start in Belfast in front of the Stormont Parliament buildings, Gronholm leads Loeb by 0.9 of a second. But this is where the pressure really builds as the crews prepare for one of the trickiest stage rallying of the year so far. And on the start line is the rally leader, Marcus Gronholm. He's away. Can the Finn finally do what he's never been able to do before? Beat Loeb on a pure tarmac rally. As expected, damp, slippery conditions out there this morning. And just look how narrow these roads are. This is exactly why this event is going to be one of the toughest challenges of the year. Marcus said he wouldn't feel the pressure until he put his helmet on, but added to that, he has to be inch perfect with his lines and concentrate intently on the pace notes from Timo Rautiainen on these brand new and tricky stages. At least Marcus can drive it, but Noisley doesn't have to win here. Sebastian Loeb doesn't have that luxury because as long as Marcus is still going, he realistically needs to win both these last two rallies. Now that's pressure. Citroen's 2 visits to rallies in Donegal and Cork earlier this year proved how seriously they're taking this rally. No half measures. This really could be a make or break weekend for Loeb. Ford, of course, are within touching distance of retaining their manufacturer's crown. much of that is down to the fine performances of Mikko Hirvonen. The Finn claimed his second win of the season in Japan, could still have a big part to play in the outcome of the Drivers' Championship 2 over the final 2 rounds. Dani Sordo also has an important role to play this weekend. The Spaniard sporting a tribute to the late great Colin McRae in his helmet. He'll be hoping to emulate one of the legend's great performances by beating Marcus Gronholm. That would help his teammate Loeb reduce the 4-point deficit in the championship to 0. Back with Gronholm now, though, who's nearing the finish of this 11-kilometre stage. Again, a different layout to the road through here. Still very fast, but also very twisty. Marcus clears the stage in a time of 6 minutes, 11.7 seconds. Incredible pressure on the 2 championship frontrunners, and we saw that begin to tell in spectacular fashion in Japan, with both drivers failing to finish. It's only ramped up the hype surrounding them, but there are no mistakes from Loeb here. He's tearing through the final few corners, and he's going to take the lead from Gronholm. He started the stage just 9/10 of a second behind, and he beats the Finn by 6 seconds and takes the rally lead.
Sebastian has a shake of the head, but you're on a very heavy wet tyre there. Is it good choice?
Yeah, but I have a broken suspension since the start of the stage. Before the start, I heard some noise on the rear, and the left rear suspension is out of oil now, so it's worse and worse.
Obviously the time is quite good compared to Marcus, but they're going to have a problem in the next stages.
Yeah, this stage was not so bumpy, and even for that, the car was bumping a lot. So in the next stages will maybe be more difficult.
Concerns then for Loeb despite that terrific time, but there's better news to come for the world champion as his teammate Dani Sordo also passes Gronholm to take second overall, relegating the Finn to third. Hirvonen is up from 6th to 4th. Time to join rally leader Loeb, who has that suspension problem, and with stage 3 being the longest of the day, he will be very concerned. You can see the back of the car bouncing around.
100 mètres. Attention, Gauchon plus Lontard. 200 mètres.
Oh, that overshoot's not going to help his cause. He will have known he was again up on the splits to Gronholm, but that costs him time, and he finishes 1.1 seconds slower than his title rival. Jari-Matti Latvala has been the revelation of the year. Snowboard Ford's young Finn has impressed again and again this season, and it's looking good too in Ireland. He's 5th fastest on stage 3 and jumps from 7th to 5th, despite the scare of having to drive round a sheep mid-stage. So going into stage 4, Marcus is still 3rd, but just 4 seconds off Loeb. He'll also know that Seb has had that suspension problem, and he'll be looking to claw back some time whilst the champion's struggling. Gronholm's opted for cut slick tyres this morning. The surface is still fairly damp from overnight rain, but although overcast, it's remained dry so far this morning. It's a fast stretch of road again here alongside the lake to the left. Marcus right on the limit. Oh no! That's a disaster for the Big Finn. Those slip tyres may have contributed to this mistake here, as the car just never turns into the corner. That certainly was a heavy impact. To add insult to injury, the Big Finn's hurt and dazed after the off and has to be taken to hospital for some checkups. The damaged car tells a story of its own. So Loeb is handed another lifeline in his bid to retain his title, but it's his teammate Sordo who takes the honours on stage 4, beating Loeb by 2.7 seconds to take the lead of the rally. Chris Atkinson started the day 4th but dropped back to 6th after stage 2, but he once again finds himself as the leading Subaru. That's another mistake, and what a proving to be treacherous conditions. He does manage to continue, but he plummets down the leaderboard. Chevy Ponce is also struggling in this very tricky stage. Oh, and he's off too, clattering into a gate and ending his rally in spectacular style. Using virtual spectator now, though, we can compare Gronholm's entry speed into that corner to Loeb's. He's 15 kilometers an hour faster, and considering he was on cut slicks to Loeb's wets, that made all the difference. The margins are small, but the price is high. Loeb won't be too concerned at having lost the lead to his teammate, considering his broken suspension. And after Gronholm's retirement, Hirvonen's once again left to try and secure the points for Ford, but he's 27 seconds behind Loeb, so will struggle to exert any pressure on the Frenchman. The crew's returning to service in Sligo, but one car that won't be there is the Ford Focus of Marcus Gronholm.
Obviously the first concern was how Marcus and Timo were. Well, I think what happened was he took a very heavy impact on the left, on Marcus's side of the car, into like a rock face. They both reported okay, but then I think shortly after the accident, then Marcus basically lost consciousness, came back again, but then he started to lose his memory. Fortunately, we spoke with the organisers and they then stopped the stage immediately, sent the medical team in, and both Marcus and Timo are now on their way to Sligo Hospital to be checked out, and everything's okay.
What's the strategy now?
Mikko's been told now basically we have to get the Manufacturers' Championship. We have to try and get those 3 points that we need. I think in view of now what's happened with Marcus, then it's important that we absolutely get the Manufacturers, try to get that tied up here. And then we've obviously got to look at trying to field or have a strong strategic plan, should we say, for Rally GB.
Sebastian Loeb is in a strong position, but he's had his problems this morning with that leaking damper and knows nothing can be taken for granted.
It's exactly the same situation that we had in Japan, so it's really important not to take too big risks, but the ride is so tricky that it's really difficult. And but okay, we'll try to do it well.
As the rest of the crews head out to stages 5, 6 and 7, there's confirmation that both Gronholm and Raitiainen are okay, but they won't be super rallying. Sordo leads, but only by 2.2 seconds, and Loeb will fancy his chances of retaking the lead now his car is fixed. Sordo has had a tough season, but in the latter part he's found some form and he's doing everything the team have asked of him. Oh, but that overshoot's going to cost him time. That was just over 2 seconds separating him from Loeb. Time is not something he has to spare. He's over 6 seconds slower than Loeb and immediately surrenders the rally lead. The rain has returned in the afternoon, but Sebastian Loeb will not be too concerned by a bit of inclement weather. With his championship rival Gronholm out of the rally and the lead now his, things couldn't be looking much rosier for the Frenchman to extend his lead on stage 6 to over 8 seconds. Latvala continues to surprise with every passing stage on his first full season in the WRC, and on stage 6 he smashes Hirvonen's time by 16 seconds, and that's enough to put him in 3rd place. Hirvonen can be forgiven for not pushing, as he knows that 3 points will be enough to secure Ford the manufacturer's title. The Finn can't restrain his competitive instinct though, and on stage 7 he beats Latvala, reducing the gap between them to just 0.2 of a second. Chris Meek has remained the leading privateer after his terrific run through the Super Special last night. Gosselin was in 7th until engine problems saw him slip to 9th. But the worst was to follow on stage 7. It's a frustrating way for the day to finish for the local hero. After 7 stages, this is how they stand. Sordo beat Loeb on 7, reducing his lead to 6.8 seconds. Latvala is 3rd, but only just, as Hirvonen's just 0.2 of a second behind in 4th. And if Solberg is the lone work Subaru in 5th. The cars head back to service and Loeb will be feeling very happy as he now leads the rally from his teammate, but more importantly his title rival is out and has no chance of super rallying as the car is too badly damaged to continue. Just 3 more stages to come on day 1 here in Ireland, and championship hopeful Sébastien Loeb is in the perfect position. And here is Citroen's #1 in the 22.5-kilometre Glen Boy stage. Well, these last 3 stages are unique with just a single run through, so there's only one chance to get them right, and the weather is closing in. And Loeb's already in trouble, an overshoot for the world champion 6 kilometres into this stage. It's not a major inconvenience, but it still proves that this rally can bite you at any time. In these wet conditions, a lot of mud is being pulled onto the road, making braking points hard to judge. Here's Mikko Hirvonen now, and like Loeb, it's all about keeping the car on the road now for the Finn. Approaching that same corner that caught out the Frenchman, and he's done it too. The Finn taking a longer detour to get the car back onto the stage rather than reversing out as Loeb did. For Hirvonen though, it's a setback in his efforts to chase down Jari-Matti Latvala. Here's Sordo now. He was less than 7 seconds behind his teammate, so could take advantage after Seb's slip-up. Oh, but he's made the same mistake. It's clearly incredibly slippery into that right-hander. They've all been surprised at how muddy it is, but luckily they've all got away with the same mistake. Latvala, however, puts in an error-free drive and beats Hirvonen by 12 seconds on stage 8. He then puts in another fast time on stage 9 and extends his lead over his fellow Finn to 16.5 seconds. Petter Solberg is the sole remaining Works Subaru in the point-scoring places. It's been a torrid season for the 2003 champion, so a top 5 finish will be seen as a reasonable result if he can stay there. He'll be keen to seal up the attentions of his brother in 6th. Henning Solberg loves battling with his younger brother, but with his regular co-driver Kato Menkerud at home while his wife is giving birth, he's struggling to put the pressure on Petter. Oh, and now he's gone off. Well, that's a bruising welcome to the WRC for his new co-driver Goran, and the end of the rally for Henning. On to stage 9, and it's getting dark now too, so another challenge to overcome. But following Henning's mistake, British privateer Guy Wilkes is now up to 6th. He's come close to a point-scoring finish a few times this season, but he's on course for a terrific result in Ireland. There are no changes after a run through stage 10. Loeb extends his lead to finish the day 11.2 seconds ahead of Sordo. Latvala also extends his lead over Hirvonen to 17 seconds. Wilkes is in 6th, with Stoll and Wilson in 7th and 8th. So it's been a disastrous start for Gronholm. His title hopes are in tatters, but for Loeb things couldn't be better, as long as he can master those tricky Irish roads. We've already seen that this is a tricky event when Loeb lost time on the opening stages with a leaking damper. That's because the roads are fast but also incredibly bumpy, making this a unique tarmac event. Ford's technical director explains the workings of the critical component in the suspension setup, the damper.
We run a damper which is specific for it, which is in between the tarmac damper of Catalonia, Corsica, and between a normal gravel damper. You need to keep the stability of the car, but still have it fairly soft to absorb all those bumps and jumps, and that is contradictory, being soft and being stable. So we have to do a lot of tweaks on the damper, on the curve of the damper, to effectively be stiffer at the low speed to have the car stability, but softer at high speed to absorb the big bumps in a nicer way. The damper, this part is like a big syringe, so you've got this tube which is full of oil, and in the middle of it you've got a piston. The piston has got holes in it and it's got some big shims on it, like washers. So if you go into bump, you push that piston down in the oil, and the oil is to travel across the hole, and that creates a resistance, so a force. These dampers have the possibility to be adjusted. So on a bump setting, which when the car goes into compression, we've got an adjustment here on the bottom of the reservoir, and that allows us to adjust 2-speed range of the damper. The low speed, which is for when the damper goes slowly, and that's more relevant to the body movement, the car rolling or the car pitching and the braking. And then there's the high speed, which is more relevant to a jump or a big landing or a big bump. So we can adjust those two phases of the damping separately.
As ever in rallying, it's about compromise and trying to find that ultimate setting that makes the car stable and at the same time gives the drivers confidence to attack. After a damp day one, there is a glimmer of sunshine on the second morning, but there are some fast and bumpy roads to test both the cars and the suspension. Loeb leads from his teammate Sordo, Latvala's third ahead of Hirvonen. By the time that Mikko reaches the start line, though, the weather is doing its worst, making for very difficult conditions. Hirvonen has to concentrate on keeping the car on the road for the next 2 days. His sole aim is to score 3 points or more to ensure that his Ford team secure the manufacturer's championship. It's not easy to be cautious when the conditions are this treacherous. With Mikko easing off, it will of course make life easier for Jari-Matti Latvala. He begins the second day just under 25 seconds ahead of his compatriots in third. Despite coming close on a number of occasions this season, Latvala has still yet to score a podium finish, and after a number of dramatic offs while in front-running positions, will be desperate to have one this time. There is seemingly now little Jari-Matti can do to catch the runaway leaders, the two Citroën drivers once again proving just how good this C4 is on tarmac. Dani Sordo's already well over a minute ahead of Latvala going into stage 11, and the Spaniard seems unconcerned by the wet conditions. Very little seems to fluster this young man. Back at the start, Sordo's teammate and rally leader Sebastian Loeb is ready to get underway. Loeb's made a career of excelling in all conditions. He's the best around on tarmac, and when it's wet, his car control and unnerving ability to nearly always select the right tyre have seen him leave his rivals in his wake. Manfred Stoll, meanwhile, is competing in Loeb's old Sara, although surprisingly the Citroën has proved a disappointment at times this season for the LMV driver. Currently running in 7th, though, he is at least in the pink scoring places. Oh, but he may not be for much longer. Stoll is the first to be caught out by these slippery roads as he disappears into the undergrowth. Peter Solberg's the only remaining worst Subaru driver in the top 8 after both Chris Atkinson and Chevy Ponce went off the road on the first day, and he may have half an eye on Hirvonen's 4th spot if the Finn does ease off this morning. Meanwhile, Manfred Stoll finds his way back onto the stage, but he loses almost 7 minutes and drops out of the points. Loeb guides his Citroën C4 through these narrow lanes, and there's no problems with his suspension setup, soaking up that jump with ease. His speed is mind-blowing considering the conditions, combined with the pressure he's under to finish. He wins the stage and extends his lead by over 6 seconds.
Faster than anyone else, a good start to the day.
Yeah, but very difficult. A lot of incredible tricky places. You have some grip and sometimes nothing.
So Loeb's lead is up to 17.5 seconds. Latvala also increases the gap between him and Hirvonen to over 30 seconds. Further back, Stoll's off means Matthew Wilson climbs into 7th, and Irish driver Gareth McHale moves into the top 8. 2 more stages to run before the midday service break, starting with the Ballina-Mallard test. Dani Sordo is still within touching distance of his teammate. Oh, but he slid right there, though. He never made that right-hander and now seems to be beached. Co-driver Mark Marty making his feelings clear to the spectators and marshals. but Sordo's really struggling to find any traction, and the seconds are ticking away. He finally gets moving, but what seemed like a small mistake has cost him the best part of half a minute. Well, the man in second slipping back then, so perhaps a small opportunity for Lappola to close up. No holding back from the 22-year-old as he negotiates this narrow, bumpy section. Well, the suspension working hard here, and it's certainly proving effective. He sets a good time, beating Sordo by almost half a minute and reducing the gap between them to just under 50 seconds. Petter Solberg is still pushing to catch Hirvonen. The Subaru Impreza has always been a competitive car on wet tarmac, so these conditions could work in the favour of the Norwegian. He's faster than Hirvonen on both stages 12 and 13, and he's now just 12.6 seconds behind. Manfred Stoll, meanwhile, has already had a lively morning after that off on the opening stage. He's begun a long fight back from 15th and has already climbed to 12th by the end of stage 12. Oh, but he's off again, another mistake for the Austrian. And he might struggle to make it back from this excursion. Taking another look, it's a strange incident. He seemed to turn in too early and just skid straight on into the bank. And that is the end of the day for Stoll and co-driver Ilkka Minor. More drama further back then, but Sebastian Loeb has not put a foot wrong today. Even the great Frenchman has struggled on these treacherous stages, but he's now well aware of the dangers of this unique event. Little sign of caution from Seb, though. He's fastest on stages 12 and 13. Loeb then now way out in front, over 50 seconds ahead of his teammate Sordo after his minor off. Lappola closes on Sordo, but the gap is still 47.5 seconds. Hirvonen is beginning to come under serious pressure from Petter Solberg, who's just 12.6 seconds behind. Sebastian Loeb makes it back to service, and as you've seen, getting through these stages is a victory in itself. The overriding mood amongst the drivers is one of relief.
Just explain to us how hard it is at the moment.
Tarmac is changing a lot. It can be wide and very narrow. Sometimes there is grass growing on the middle of the tarmac, and then there's like abrasive tarmac, shiny tarmac. Plus then you will have mud on the road, gravel on the road, and water on the road. And so you can imagine you have to just all the time read the road and see what is in there and take it like when you come to corners, you need to be always a little bit aware or expect unexpected.
What do you think of these Irish stages?
Bloody difficult.
When you say difficult, what do you mean?
Bloody difficult, I said, yeah. And that's enough. It's, yeah, very, very special. Slippy, muddy, surface tarmac changes all the time, so, well.
One interested spectator this weekend is the Deputy Director of the Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority. They've recently announced that they are to become the official destination partner of the WRC, and he explains why.
I think it will be the best communication medium. There's a huge widespread WRC championship, so we launched the new brand, so I think it is the right move for us. Motorsports in general is one of our main vehicles to promote the destination. Especially in the United Arab Emirates and Abu Dhabi, it's very well known between the youth and even the whole expatriates that are living with us there.
The Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority are already involved with the WRC as a sponsor of the Ford team, a deal which involved bringing Abu Dhabian driver Khalid Al Qasini into the championship. This is only his 4th event, and they seem pleased with his progress so far.
He's enjoying it. He's very happy, and he's learning a lot of experience. Few spins, he's driving with the most renowned drivers and teams. I think it's a very big learning curve for him.
Time now to move on to the final 3 stages of the day. Loeb's looking untouchable out front. Sordo's second, but he knows he can't afford any more mistakes. The closest battle is between Mikko Hirvonen and Petter Solberg, who are separated by just 12.6 seconds. Petter heads into stage 14, having shown that when it's wet, his car is much more competitive. He's gradually been reeling in Mikko, and now he can smell that 4th place off the fins. Mikko only needs to finish 6th here to secure the manufacturer's championship for Ford. But His competitive instinct won't let him concede a position without a fight, and he's also looking very committed here. Oh, but he's a bit wild there, and he's clipped something after that slide. It's another heart-stopping moment, but despite that scare, he's still over 9 seconds quicker than Solberg. Well, this event was expected to be a challenge, but Rally Ireland has already proved to be one of the trickiest of the entire season. Here's Latvala, and he might just be tempted to push a bit harder, having closed on Sordo on the previous stage. Oh, but that's a huge moment for Jari Matti. He got that corner completely wrong and was sent flying through the fence. And like Sordo earlier, he's got himself beached. The clock is still ticking as he agonisingly searches for some grip, but the car is completely stuck. Well, using Virtual Spectator, we can see that Jari Matti was just ahead of Hirvonen before that, but that mistake costs him a massive amount of time as Hirvonen disappears into the distance. Latvala does get moving eventually, but how much time has he lost? There's Hirvonen and Sami. Jari Matti was 50 seconds ahead of Mikko coming into the stage, but he's going to be slower, but by how much? 26.8 seconds down, his lead is halved, but he'll be relieved to have held on to third place.
Plus 28 to Mikko. What happened?
Well, I wasn't buzzing any too hard, but there was just standing water behind the corner, and I didn't have it in my notes. I just couldn't turn it. I went straight to the field, and we hit like a little post, and I got the engine stop, but I got it running, and we got a little bit stuck. So thanks for the spectators who came to help us.
But out front and in a league of his own is rally leader Loeb. He finishes the day with a lead of almost a minute and looks set to devastate Gronholm's title ambitions. So Loeb leads from Sordo. Latvala increases his lead over Hirvonen in stages 15 and 16, but only by a couple of seconds. Petter Solberg was unable to make any inroads on Mikko's 4th place. Guy Wilson of Privateer Subaru is 6th ahead of Matthew Wilson and local man Gareth McHale. But it's Sebastian Loeb who seems to have weathered the storm here in Ireland. There are 4 more tricky stages to come. There's a Saturday night festival in host city Sligo. It wasn't just the public who turned out, there were a few famous faces around too.
We couldn't actually get a better event, a World Rally Championship. It just rings all the bells at the one time, because it's where most people in Ireland who are motorsport fans, they start in rallying, and of course we have that added advantage of the hospitality is perfect for it. So if you add all of that in the mix, then you can understand why I think this rally is particularly suited to Ireland.
It's really exciting for us folk over in Ireland to have this, and it's an opportunity for us to showcase Ireland to the wider world. And certainly we had the start at Stormont the other night with the spectacular backdrop that it was. And there's beautiful scenery over here, and that's the best thing about rallying, because you see the cars flitting about, but you also see the beautiful scenery in the background, and it's a great opportunity for us.
From our perspective, we believe we have a fantastic product here. It's a beautiful part of the country, from Atlantic coastline, through to some fantastic lakes, rivers, mountains, you name it. To have an event like this, a huge viewing audience, I think about 50 million viewers globally, 186 countries. I mean, this is fantastic, and it's an opportunity for us to show what we can deliver.
There are more ex-factory world rally cars here in Ireland than anywhere else in the world, proving that not just motorsport, but rallying is a huge passion for the Irish, and one that has united the two countries for years.
The country, for whatever reason, just seems to have a real passion for it and a history for it. And I think even back to my own time as a kid, I can remember being dragged around at Easter time to Circuit of Ireland rallies, and it always had that cross-border thing.
Ireland just love motorsport, whether it's motorbikes or cars, and we're hugely into speed. We love the noise, we love the smell, we love the speed, everything that goes with it. It's just something that turns Irish people on.
So after 16 stages, Loeb is in a dominant position in the lead. The opening stage of day 3 is the longest of the final leg at just under 25 kilometres. Matthew Wilson won Rally Island 2 years ago, and his past visit has clearly been crucial. He's succeeded where many other more experienced drivers have slipped up and made it this far without incident, and on course to finish 7th. It's also become a breakthrough event for Guy Wilkes in his privately entered Subaru Impreza. 6th place would be his best finish in a World Rally car after 5 previous entries earlier in the year. Ahead of Guy is the Wilkes Subaru of the Solberg. It's Petter's 33rd birthday today, and he begins the final morning just 15.6 seconds behind Mikko Hirvonen. So expect a committed display from the Norwegian. Still crowded down in places, and the Impreza worked well in the wet on day 2. First blood in this battle for 4th, though, goes to Hirvonen. Despite the pressure to finish on the young Finn's shoulders, he sets a stunning time in stage 17, 15.4 seconds quicker than Petter, and that could be the decisive blow in the fight for 4th already.
120 oikein servotiukka liukas.
Jari-Matti Latvala begins the final day on course to secure his first ever podium finish, and on tarmac, the surface on which he's still learning his trade. Hirvonen's sudden surge in pace may be a concern, though. His compatriot is still within touching distance of 3rd spot. No such concerns for the 2 red cars out front, though. Dani Sordo has already built up a cushion ahead of Latvala of just over a minute. The Spaniard is becoming one of the best in the business on tarmac. There's only one other driver who could claim to be faster. And that, of course, is his world champion teammate Sebastian Loeb. We saw the Frenchman crash out in Japan after a mistake from co-driver Daniel Elena when they could have made a crucial step towards retaining the championship. After Gronholm's crash in Ireland, though, we've seen a devastating display of control and tremendous speed.
Sebastian, just looking at your tyres there, looks like a slick, but so many cuts in it.
Yeah, I didn't have any rain tires more, so I had to use slicks, and but it's very soft compound and with a lot of cuts, so if I had rain tires I would use it, but now we use this.
Mikko Hirvonen was fastest in that stage. He's now pulled out a gap of 31 seconds over 5th place Petter Solberg, and Mikko is now just 26.2 behind Latvala. No change out front, though. Loeb and Sordo maintain their stranglehold on the top spots. 2 more long stages left to negotiate before a short blast through the 2-kilometre Mark Moore test. Gareth McHale has ensured the legions of fanatical and by now somewhat damp Irish fans have a local hero to cheer on in the top 8. The Ford driver is one of 3 McHales competing, with his father and brother also driving in their home rally. Gareth is running in 8th. After a difficult season, Matthew Wilson is finishing in good form. He's looking good to achieve his 2nd points finish in a row. The second of the British contingents in the top 8 is Guy Wilkes. The Subaru driver's on course to score the first World Championship points of his career. No mistakes from Guy, and the 6th position gets closer and closer to becoming a reality. Mikko Hirvonen's made a stunning start to the 3rd day. That fastest time will have surprised many, with the Finn needing to secure those 3 points before the 4 teams' celebrations can begin. Mikko is quickest again in stage 18. He's now less than 16 seconds behind Latvala. The Stobart Ford man, though, has come too far to concede his 3rd place without a fight. It's a sign of the 22-year-old's growing maturity, not to mention ability. But on the 14-kilometre stage 19, he promptly sets the fastest time of his own to put himself out of reach of a fired-up Hirvonen. Dani Sordo would have liked to have proved he has the speed to stay with his illustrious teammate. He small up yesterday morning and did any hopes of keeping Loeb honest. Good news for Citroën, though. They would have hoped for a formation finish rather than a fight for first. And rally leader Sebastian Loeb cruises serenely through these final 2 long stages. Barring disaster now, the Frenchman should make a devastating surge in the championship race before the day is through. Loeb is 54.5 seconds ahead of his teammate Sordo as the crews move on to the final stage. Latvala's fastest time has seen him pull out a gap of 28 seconds over Hirvonen, the Subarus of Solberg and Wilkes rounding off the top 6. The Manufacturers' Championship has been dominated once again by Ford, and if things stay as they are, the team are set to win the title for the 2nd year here in Ireland. Last year they won but were helped by Loeb's absence due to injury. This season they've led since Norway, with lead driver Marcus Gronholm winning 5 rallies. He's been backed up impressively by his teammate Hirvonen, who won in Norway and again in Japan. If he stays 4th here in Ireland, then Ford will be champions again. On to the rally's final test. The Mullaghmore stage is a 2-kilometre stretch of road along the Sligo County coast, and the Ford team are watching the live pictures on WRC.com as their man Mikko Hirvonen prepares to start. A spectacular backdrop then for the finale of Rally Island. Hirvonen carefully makes his way through this final stage. The cliff edge is just a matter of metres away at times. And nervous moments for team boss Malcolm Wilson. There are no berets into the sea below for Mikko though. And as he passes through the flying finish, there are delirious scenes of celebration back at the service park as Hirvonen's 4th place has ensured that Ford have retained the manufacturers' championship.
Ford Manufacturers Championship for the 2nd year running.
It's quite amazing, and you know, we had a fantastic year last year, but this year has been even better. I'm so glad I finished and I managed to bring the title to 440 again, so absolutely fantastic.
There will also be happy faces in the nearby Stobart VK Ford service area once Jari-Matti Latvala clears this final stage. It's been another superb display of driving from Jari-Matti. He's now clearly a star in the making and is looking more and more like the ready-made replacement for Marcus Gronholm in the Ford team when the Great Finn retires at the end of the season. It's the first podium of his career for Latvala.
Jari-Matti, end of Rally Island. Your heart's beating. It's 3rd place, 1st ever podium.
Yeah, it took 51 world rallies to do, and it's a big relief. I feel my heart very good now.
This man, though, has already had a fair few podium finishes under his belt, 58 to be exact, which amounts to an incredible 60% of his total starts. As Sebastian Loeb flies through the beautiful scenery of Mullaghmore, he's also putting a full stop on win number 36. Few have been as crucial as this one. It's been the perfect response from Loeb and co-driver Daniel Elena after their frustrating weekend in Japan.
10 points mean so much more for the championship. A win on this, probably the hardest ever rally this year.
Yeah, for sure. The rally was really difficult, but okay, we managed to finish it, and 10 points more for the championship. That's really important. It can change a lot of things for the last rally, so I'm really happy to be here now, and okay, we will see next round in GB.
So a fantastic result for Loeb as he takes 10 points to Gronholm's none. Sordo takes 2nd, whilst Jari-Matti Latvala claims his 1st ever podium finish. But crucially for Ford, Hirvonen scores 5 points and earns them the manufacturer's title. But the big story here is Loeb has now taken a big stride towards winning the driver's title.
I was feeling good before I came here. I knew I have to win here. Even if Marcus is 2nd, I have to win, and to took him 2 points, and then it will be final interesting round. Now Marcus went off, and so I scored 10 points more than him. So that situation is very different for the championship and for GB. I don't have to win there, but okay, we will see. Everything is still possible. We will have to finish GB. And I think it will be a very long rally.
Confirmation then of Loeb's 6-point lead over Gronholm, which means the Frenchman only has to finish 5th in Wales to win the driver's title. And in the manufacturers, Ford are now mathematically out of Citroen's reach, earning themselves a 2nd team's title in as many years. Ford, the celebrations have started in earnest as the team reflects on a job well done.
I think this one's even more significant to do back-to-back victories, and I think the way that we've done it this year as well, and the strength that the opposition that we're up against. You know, Sebastian was here for the whole season, and obviously Danny's a very strong combination, and to actually manage to do it before the final event, it's great in one sense because it's taken the pressure off, that the guys now can really drive flat out and try and help Marcus get the win, obviously, but and then try and keep Sebastian further back down the field.
It's almost beyond words, you know. First title was really good, but the second title shows we were serious about the first one, and that all the hard work, all the effort, the team spirit, the dedication, all comes together.
In 2 weeks' time, we're in Wales for the finale to the season. It's going to be mud and guts as Roman Gronholm battle it out for the driver's title. Check out WRC.com for more news and views. But here in Ireland, Loeb is speeding towards his 4th driver's title. But as we've seen many times this year, it's far from over. See you in 2 weeks for the season climax at Wales Rally GB.
Push.